Captain Jonas Creel's incredulous tone was mirrored in the expressions of everyone gathered around the table. Deep within a bunker nestled beneath the Appalachian Mountains, the room held a mix of military brass, scientific minds, and a handful of civilians caught in the extraordinary circumstances. A giant screen displayed the image of the Zaran commander, a towering 8-foot figure radiating arrogance and advanced technology. His voice, dripping with disdain, had just echoed across every communication channel on Earth. "You have 24 hours to comply, humans. After that, we will eradicate your insignificant species. Resistance is futile." Creel's hands tightened into fists. "Well, Dr. Vara Selk, the lead engineer, calmly interrupted before Creel could complete his expletive. "We must concentrate. The Zaran aren't bluffing. We have less than a day to find a solution." Creel leaned back, rubbing his chin. "Focus? They have ships the size of small cities hovering over every major continent. We have a few nukes that likely wouldn't even dent their armor. And they give us a 24-hour ultimatum like they're doing us a favor." He gave a hollow laugh. "Focus? I'm as focused as I can be, Vara." A heavy silence fell over the bunker, thick with tension. Then, a dry chuckle broke the quiet. Tim Tinman Roscoe, a retired pilot and notorious wisecracker, raised his hand. "Seriously, though, did anyone else think that sounded like a bad customer service call? Hello, you have 24 hours to surrender, or we terminate your account. Thank you for choosing Total Destruction Incorporated." A ripple of laughter spread through the room. Creel smirked. "Yeah, pretty much. Except there's no refund policy here." General Halvik, a seasoned war veteran, grumbled, "We can't beat them with brute force." "That's obvious. But we don't have to. We're human. If there's one thing we excel at, it's proving to the universe we never quit." Tim grinned, adding, "and making things worse. We're experts at that." Vara sighed. "Look, the Zaran expect us to just give up. But we know them better than they know us. They're a rigidly structured, hierarchical species. Their entire strategy relies on intimidation and overwhelming force. We can't outgun them, but we don't have to. So what's the plan? Annoy them to death with witty remarks?" asked Lieutenant Mara Drigg, cleaning her rifle more out of reflex than any actual expectation of its effectiveness against an interstellar armada. Vara shook her head. "No. We need to do what we do best, improvisation, chaos. Give them a taste of what happens when you underestimate the most unpredictable species in the galaxy." Creel nodded slowly, his mind racing. "Okay, we have 24 hours to figure out how to use their arrogance against them. They think they've already won. We'll make them regret that." The room buzzed with renewed energy as everyone set to work. Creel's eyes burned with determination. "If they think humanity's finished, we'll show them what finished really means. They've never encountered a species like us before." Captain Creel muttered under his breath, pacing the dimly lit war room. "Arrogant bastards. They have no clue what they've gotten themselves into." The earlier nervous laughter had dissipated, replaced by a palpable, focused energy. The countdown timer on the wall ticked relentlessly, each second a reminder of the Zaran fleet's impending threat. Creel, however, wasn't about to wait passively. He slammed his hands on the table. "All right, let's crank the weird up to 11. What do we have, Vara?" Dr. Selk, engrossed in her tablet, didn't even look up. "Not much, Captain. The Zaran ships are light years ahead of us technologically. Their shields alone could probably decimate half our air force before we even got close." Creel deadpanned, "Fantastic. What's the good news, then?" Vara finally looked up, a mischievous glint in her eyes. "The good news is they're accustomed to fighting enemies who follow the same predictable rules. They're a precision military, efficient and ordered, but throw some chaos their way, something messy and disorganized, and they'll be completely lost." Tim Roscoe, still grinning from his earlier quip, slapped the table. "And if there's one thing humans excel at, it's making a mess." General Halvik nodded in agreement. We can exploit their arrogance. They believe they're superior. Good. We'll hit them with tactics they'd never anticipate. Guerrilla warfare, psychological operations, whatever it takes to disrupt their composure. Creel gestured toward the holographic projection of the Zaran ships hovering menacingly over Earth. We don't have to win a conventional war. We don't even have to defeat them outright. We just need to frustrate them beyond measure, make them regret ever setting foot in this solar system. Lieutenant Drigg raised an eyebrow. Annoy them into submission? Creel grinned. Precisely. Attack their weak point, their egos. Tim leaned back, a smirk playing on his lips. I always knew my middle school antics would come in handy someday. Drigg snorted. You're comparing psychological warfare to middle school pranks? Tim shrugged. Hey, if it works, it works. Vara's fingers danced across her tablet. We could begin by disrupting their communications. Transmit interference, false signals, perhaps even overload their frequencies with some Earth culture. Creel raised an eyebrow. Earth culture? Like what? Opera? Tim's grin widened. I was thinking more along the lines of Rick Astley. You know, a full-blown Rickroll. General Halvik massaged his temples. We're seriously considering rickrolling an alien species that's threatening to annihilate us. Tim clapped his hands together. Absolutely. And then, while they're utterly bewildered, we hit them with something they truly don't expect. Vara chuckled softly. It's insane, but it might buy us time. While they're trying to decipher why they're being rickrolled, we can set the real traps. Creel crossed his arms. All right, let's do it. Flood their comms with distractions, nonsense, anything to slow them down. In the meantime, we prepare for the next phase. He turned to Lieutenant Drigg, who was now taking the situation considerably more seriously. What's the next phase, Lieutenant? Once we've sufficiently annoyed them? Creel's smile held a dangerous edge. We hit them where they least expect it. Sabotage. Small teams infiltrating their ships, disrupting their systems. We won't be able to inflict significant direct damage, but that's not the objective. We just need to make everything go wrong. Vara nodded. We've already been developing some unconventional weapons. Nothing that would obliterate their ships, of course, but enough to cause significant technical malfunctions. Imagine a ship the size of a city suddenly experiencing a complete systems failure. Lights flickering, gravity failing, oxygen levels fluctuating. Beautiful, Creel murmured. And while they're scrambling to fix their high-tech toys, we'll be right there, causing even more havoc. Tim leaned forward, eyes gleaming with excitement. How about we start with something simple? We have a bunch of old radio satellites up there. We could hijack them, broadcast some good old-fashioned chaos directly into their systems. Creel grinned. I like it. Get those satellites online. I want the Zaran confused, irritated, and on the verge of a meltdown by the time they make their next move. As everyone sprang into action, Creel turned to Vara. How much time do we have? Maybe 12 hours before they start deploying the heavy artillery, she replied quietly. Creel nodded. Then let's make those 12 hours the worst of their lives. Hours later, as the human plan began to unfold, Creel observed the initial phase from the command center. Across the globe, signals were being hijacked, flooding the Zaran communication networks with Earth's finest memes, prank videos, and a generous dose of 90s pop music. At first, nothing seemed to happen. Then, gradually, reports trickled in, the alien ships were slowing their approach. Tactical maneuvers, once sharp and precise, became sluggish and erratic. The Zaran were demonstrably bewildered. Creel smirked. Welcome to humanity's most potent weapon, he thought, pure, unadulterated chaos. The room was hushed as everyone watched the radar screen, observing the Zaran fleet's faltering movements. The signals emanating from the alien vessels were erratic, their precision crumbling under the weight of, well, Rick Astley. They're stalling, Vara said, a blend of amusement and disbelief in her tone. They've stopped their descent. I believe we've thoroughly confused them. Tim, leaning back with a self-satisfied grin, folded his arms behind his head. Told you, he announced. No advanced technology can withstand the might of 80s pop. Not even aliens with plasma cannons. Creel, arms crossed, stood before the screen. Don't get too comfortable, he cautioned. This is just the beginning. We've gained some time, but they'll adapt. We need to hit them hard before they decipher what we're doing. He turned to Sergeant Dex Brick Grimm, the infiltration team leader. Brick, a formidable figure of muscle and tactical expertise, had been silent until now. He stepped forward, cracking his knuckles. We're ready, he announced. The team's equipped with EMP grenades, cloaking devices, and a few creative surprises. We'll be in and out before they know what hit them. Creel nodded. Good. Your target is their main flagship, the one that issued the ultimatum. Cut off the head, and the body will follow. While they're busy cleaning up the mess we've already created, you'll slip in, sabotage whatever you can, and get out. Tim grinned. And by creative surprises, you mean? Brick, who rarely smiled, allowed a small, mischievous smirk to appear. Let's just say the Zaran will have more than technical difficulties to deal with. We have a few pranks in store for them. You like stink bombs? Tim's eyes lit up. Oh, you magnificent beast of a man. Vara, looking up from her tablet, raised an eyebrow. Wait, she questioned, stink bombs against an alien armada? Brick shrugged. You'd be surprised how effective they can be, he explained, especially when mixed with a few compounds that disrupt their respiratory systems. Harmless, but incredibly unpleasant. Creel chuckled. Perfect. The objective isn't to kill them yet. We just need to throw them off balance, induce some panic. As Brick's team began suiting up, the room buzzed with a tense excitement. They were about to attempt something insane, infiltrate an alien warship armed with nothing but EMP grenades, sabotage equipment, and stink bombs. But if anyone could pull off the impossible, it was humans. All right, team, Brick's deep voice resonated through the room as he secured his helmet. We get in, cause as much mayhem as possible, and get out. Simple. Quick. Let's make them regret the day they tangled with Earth. With a final nod from Creel, the team vanished into the tunnels leading to the launch bay. Creel watched them go, a peculiar sense of pride swelling in his chest. They were going to do it, somehow. Against all odds, they were going to show the Zaran what it meant to provoke humanity. Hours later, Brick's team moved stealthily within the Zaran flagship's hull. Their cloaking devices rendered them invisible, but navigating a warship teeming with heavily armed, 8-foot-tall aliens was still incredibly tense. Remember, Brick whispered over the comms, we're here for disruption, not confrontation. Stick to the plan. Tim's voice crackled in response, got it, boss. Just setting up a few technical difficulties for our scaly friends. The team split into pairs, strategically placing EMP grenades and hacking into the ship's systems. As Brick ventured deeper, he observed the Zaran soldiers, clearly agitated. Their movements were jerky and uncoordinated, their usual precision shattered by the ongoing communication disruptions and the general air of bewilderment. Brick allowed himself a small smirk. These aliens had no clue what was about to hit them. Package ready in Sector 4, a voice reported over the comms. EMP set in Sector 7. Ready for detonation. Brick arrived at his target, an access panel to the ship's central power grid. I'm in position, he whispered. Prepare for the main event. Tim's voice, barely containing his excitement, crackled back, you mean the aromatic additions? Brick chuckled. Precisely. Moments later, Brick activated the final EMP and initiated the other devices. All right, team, Phase 2 is a go. Detonate in 3, 2, 1. The flagship shuddered violently. Lights flickered, alarms blared, and the Zaran soldiers yelled in confusion as their systems went haywire. Then came the second wave. Whatever air filtration the Zaran used, it was no match for the cocktail of irritants now flooding their ship. Zaran soldiers began coughing and retching, their large frames doubled over. It wasn't lethal, just intensely uncomfortable. Tim's voice, filled with laughter, erupted over the comms. "Oh, man, it's working. I can hear them gagging from here." Brick grinned. Mission accomplished. Get to the extraction point. As Brick's team slipped out of the flagship, the full extent of the chaos unfolded. Systems malfunctioned, soldiers stumbled around gagging and disoriented, and the once imposing warship resembled a scene of utter pandemonium. Back on Earth, Creel observed the flickering flagship signal on the radar. "It's working," Vara whispered, "they're completely discombobulated." Creel smiled. "They wanted war. We gave them a three-ring circus." The stink bombs and EMP bursts hadn't merely disabled the Zaran flagship, they'd sown chaos throughout the entire invasion force. On the command deck of the Arnold Zaran Commander Vizu was furious. His scales, normally a calm green, had darkened to a furious black. He coughed, the lingering stench still clinging to the air, and stalked the corridors. His soldiers were in no better shape, disoriented, confused, and, most humiliatingly, smelling like a stagnant bog. This is insolence." Vizu spat, slamming a fist into a flickering control panel. The ship's systems were still malfunctioning, communications with the fleet a jumbled mess of Earth music, memes, and random signals. Somewhere in the static, he could almost swear he heard the faint strains of Rick Astley again. Vizu's second-in-command, Raz AK, limped onto the bridge, his face a mask of disgust. "Commander, the Earthlings have sabotaged our systems. They deployed some sort of irritating agent. Many of our soldiers are incapacitated. Our shields are fluctuating, and weapon systems are temporarily offline." "What?" Vizu roared, his blackened eyes narrowing. "How could these primitives inflict such damage?" Razak hesitated. "It seems they are more resourceful than we anticipated. They are employing psychological tactics, Commander." "Humor, sir." Vizu froze, his mind reeling. "Humor? They think this is a joke asterisk?" "Yes, Commander. It appears they find our situation amusing." Vizu's fists clenched, sharp claws digging into his palms. "We underestimated them. We assumed they would engage in direct combat. Instead, they resort to trickery." Razak nodded. "Shall we regroup, sir? Reconsider our strategy?" Vizu's eyes blazed. "No. We will crush them. No more games. Prepare the elite assault teams. I will personally lead the attack on their capital. This insult will not go unanswered." Back on Earth, in the command bunker, Captain Creel paced, watching the fleet's erratic movements on the radar. Their unconventional tactics had worked beyond expectations, but it couldn't last. "Something's not right," Creel muttered to Vara, who was hunched over her tablet. "They've been blundering around for hours, but they're reorganizing. Look, those ships are forming up." Vara squinted at the screen. "You're right. They're adapting." Just then, an alarm blared. Lieutenant Drigg, monitoring the radar, swiveled in her chair. "Sir, multiple Zaran ships are breaking off. They're heading directly for us." Creel leaned closer, his face hardening. "They've pinpointed our location. They're coming to finish the job." Tim leaned in, still grinning, but a hint of worry in his eyes. "Guess the stink bombs weren't enough, huh?" "They bought us time," Creel said, his voice tightening. "But now they're angry." Vara rapidly tapped her screen, pulling up data. "It's not just any assault force. They've sent their best, elite soldiers, heavily armed. No more games, no more distractions. They're coming to wipe us out." The room fell silent. Creel straightened, his jaw set. "All right. We knew this was coming. Time to make our stand. If they want a fight, we'll give them one they won't forget. General Halvik grunted. We'll need more than stink bombs this time. Creel smirked. I'm thinking something a little more explosive. Tim jumped in. Finally, the fireworks. What's the plan, boss? Creel turned to Vara. What's our strongest asset right now? Vara hesitated. Technically, we have a few tactical nukes, but they'll only delay them. The Zaran shields are still too strong. We need something unconventional. Creel's eyes lit up. Unconventional, huh? That's our specialty. What if we use their arrogance against them again? Tim raised an eyebrow. Another rickroll? Creel shook his head. No. This time we hit them with a feigned retreat. Make them think they've won. Let them come in, get comfortable, then we strike from the shadows. Vara's eyes widened. You're thinking guerrilla warfare in reverse? Exactly, Creel said, a grin spreading across his face. We let them think they've broken through. Let them land, let them get cozy thinking they found our central command. But we'll be ready, waiting to ambush them from every angle. General Halvik grinned, a wicked glint in his eye. Hit them with the unexpected, just like before. Creel nodded. This is where we make our stand. Everyone get ready. We won't go down easy. As the Zaran elite forces descended upon Earth, their massive drop ships stirring up clouds of dust and debris, Commander Vizu spearheaded the assault. His troops, clad in polished black armor, moved with lethal precision, sweeping through the deserted streets of what was once a vibrant city. Pathetic, Vizu snarled, his voice thick with disdain as he surveyed the ruins. The humans scatter like insects. This planet will be ours within the hour. Yet, a nagging unease lingered. The silence was unsettling. The humans offered no resistance, no counterattack. It was as if they had vanished into thin air. Commander, Raz-AK said softly, cautiously surveying the surroundings, I have an unsettling feeling about this. We should proceed with caution. Vizu scoffed. Caution? From these primitives? What have we to fear? They've already lost. He gestured forward. Advance! But as they ventured deeper into the city, unsettling anomalies began to occur. Power grids, assumed deactivated, flickered back to life. Distant alarms wailed. A massive billboard suddenly illuminated, flashing a chaotic display of human memes, distorted videos, and a scrolling message, Welcome to Earth. Enjoy your stay. Vizu's scales darkened further. What is the meaning of this absurdity? Then, the true pandemonium erupted. Explosions ripped through the streets. Buildings crumbled as concealed charges detonated, showering the advancing Zaran with debris. Human soldiers materialized from the shadows, striking swiftly and vanishing before the Zaran could retaliate. Vizu roared in frustration, find them! Eliminate them all! But the humans were elusive, appearing and disappearing like phantoms, leaving a trail of chaos in their wake. Back in the command bunker, Creel watched the unfolding chaos with a satisfied smirk. Looks like they took the bait, he remarked. Vara, her eyes glued to the screen, nodded. They walked right into our trap. Creel leaned forward, his voice low and menacing. Now let's make sure they never forget it. The final Zaran ship erupted in a spectacular fireball, painting the night sky with a fiery display of alien technology meeting its demise. Commander Vizu, witnessing the catastrophic destruction of his fleet from the ravaged streets below, felt a chilling wave of despair wash over him. His arrogance had blinded him, his underestimation of the humans proving to be a fatal mistake. He had expected swift, decisive conquest. Instead, he had stumbled into a chaotic whirlwind of human ingenuity and sheer, unyielding defiance. Raz-AK, coughing and covered in debris, staggered towards his commander, his voice barely a whisper. It's over, Commander. We've lost. Vizu stared blankly at the burning remnants of his flagship, his scales paling to a sickly grey. The humans had not simply defeated them, they had humiliated them, outmaneuvered them with a blend of unconventional tactics and sheer audacity he couldn't comprehend. He had anticipated a war. What he got was a lesson in humility, delivered with a side of chaotic brilliance. Back in the bunker, the atmosphere was a mix of relief and disbelief. Captain Creel, watching the final Zaran ship disintegrate on the screen, let out a long, slow breath. He had gambled, and against all odds, he had won. "They came here to teach us a lesson," he muttered, a wry smile playing on his lips. "I think we taught them a few things instead." Vara, still monitoring the screens, let out a shaky laugh. "They underestimated us. They thought we'd crumble under their might. They never expected this." Tim, ever the comedian, chimed in, "Yeah, who knew Rick Astley and stink bombs were the ultimate weapons of mass destruction?" General Halvik, a seasoned veteran who had seen countless battles, simply shook his head in wonder. "Never thought I'd see the day we'd outsmart an alien invasion with pranks and pop music. But I'll be damned if it didn't work." Lieutenant Drigg, still clutching her rifle, although its usefulness against an interstellar armada had been questionable from the start, looked at Creel with a newfound respect. "What do we do now, Captain?" she asked. Creel's smile widened. "We rebuild. We learn from this. And we make damn sure that if any other alien species decides to pay us a visit, they think twice before messing with Earth." He paused, his gaze sweeping across the faces of the people who had just saved the world. "Because they'll never encounter a species quite like us again." As the dawn broke, casting a warm glow over the devastated but defiant Earth, the remnants of the Zaran fleet retreated, their initial arrogance replaced with a grudging respect, perhaps even a touch of fear, for the unpredictable, resilient humans. They had come seeking conquest, but they left with a profound understanding: some species are not to be trifled with. Earth, bruised but not broken, had proven that even in the face of overwhelming odds, human ingenuity, resilience, and a healthy dose of chaos could prevail. The Zaran had given them 24 hours to surrender. In return, humanity had given them an eternal lesson.